Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Quilting Stars. I'm so excited to be coming from Quilt City, USA, and to be chatting with my friend and the wonderful, talented quilting artist, Melinda Bula. Good morning, Melinda.
Hi, Liz. So glad I'm here.
Oh, I'm so glad to be talking with you. I haven't gotten to see you in a while, and it's just great to be able to chat with you and see your beautiful home. Will you give us a little bit of a tour?
I would love to. I get a lot of people asking me to see the studio and my new home. And as most of you know, we kind of lost our house in a big fire. And so we've had to restart all over in the last year and a half, 2 years. So it's been 1 year. We're at the new house and we're in Bakersfield, California. And I'm 2 miles from my son and my brand new grandbaby and my daughter-in-law. So it is it's turned out great. Who knew a fire could give you so many blessings? But let me show you our cute little house, and it's still, still in the process, but come on in.
And it's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day. It was 105 2 days ago, but today it's going to be a little cooler.
Oh my goodness. So happy to see you settled in to a new and beautiful place.
Yes, and I'm going to take the camera from you, and just so I can show you some of this stuff and talk. This is my dining room, which I just love, and my mom loved blue and white, and my sisters and I, we all love blue and white too. And so then this is our living room, our great room, which we all hang out here. Then over here, you walk over here, and this is our bedroom. It's in the process of being designed, but it's just a beautiful home. I feel very grateful. Then over here, we're going to go into the my kitchen, which I love to cook. This is our kitchen.
Oh,
this is my cute little table I got the other day. I love Wayfair.
Really, it's my dream kitchen, Melinda.
Oh, mine too. When I walked in this house and I saw this blue island and those little chandeliers, I went, oh, this is my house. I can live in Bakersfield. So that's how I knew. So we're coming in here. Okay, this hutch, this is called shipping and packing. As you can see, I set up a little Etsy store where I'm selling my patterns, and we've been shipping and packing every day. Joe loves it. I thought I wasn't going to have a job, but it's working out pretty good. This is my studio, but let me show you the fun part, because when you live in Bakersfield, like I said, it can be 113 all summer. So this makes us think we're in like Palm Springs. So this is the backyard. Is this like I could die?
Oh my goodness, Melinda.
I know.
Thou shalt not covet, but I don't know if I can handle.
I am thinking if you want to come over,
no
skinny chicks are allowed. No skinny chicks are allowed, but this is our little pool. And in Bakersfield, it gets hot, so we sit out here in our little living room area.
Oh,
and so I know, I love it. My family comes over. So now we're going in the house, and then here's my studio. Well, now it's not as big as I've had other studios, but it is just perfect. And so I've got some of my quilts. This is the design wall that we put up. And I'm kind of lacking in a few things, but this is my Hoffmann Fabric collection. I make a lot of fabric kits, and their watercolor collection is really very similar to when I was hand dyeing. So this is where the magic. Here's my beautiful sewing machine. I lost 7 sewing machines in the fire, but really, I don't tell my husband, but I really only needed 1.
I knew it. I heard him. I knew it.
I know, but a girl needs more than 1. What if it's in the shop? So anyways, here's my other colors. This is my area over here, my computer area, and these are my girls, my Barbie doll. They talked to me, and I was a flight attendant, so I got the flight attendant. She was called a stewardess back in the good old days. But this is where I make patterns and printout stuff. And let's see, what else do I have in here? Oh, this is my collection of books. This is all my quilting books. From all those bookshelves I had, this is all I have now.
Oh my
I know, it's
goodness.
pitiful.
But it's precious what you were able to save. I can't imagine, you know, what you went through and losing all that and rebuilding and
Oh my gosh, you know,
it's so deserving for you to be able to rebuild something.
Well, you know what, it's very humbling when you lose everything and you really realize that it really didn't matter. You know, it's fun to collect stuff, but in the long run, it didn't really matter. So this is my table that I love. Okay, I searched all over. I had one in the other studio, and I love this because I can grab these drawers, I can pull them out, and I can set them right on top and dig through my fabric. Now, I'm going to show you why I'm saying dig through my fabric, because this is how my drawers really look. Okay, and then I'm digging, looking for the right, where's that color? Is it fused? And that's how I live right there.
Well, thank you for showing us the honest side, because I think a lot of people see these videos and think my studio is not nearly that organized and pristine. So
it's not. Mine is not either. And most of my drawers look like this. This drawer, and this is purple's my favorite color. So as you can see,
perfect.
I have a ways to go. But this is my one drawer for making masks. And I'm sure every quilter now has all these drawers. And my son comes over, Mom, I need to give my stylist a mask. Can you make me one? And so I'm whipping up masks all the time.
That's wonderful. Thank you for making the masks, and thank you to everybody else who's out there making masks. I know that we all need them. I have some cloth masks that a quilter made, and it's great. You know, it's a great way to use your time to help other people.
It really is, and it's important. So I've been making masks for the neighbors.
So Melinda, a little over a year ago, I think, you experienced a really, really, really hard tragedy. In Paradise, California, the Camp Fire, as it's now, you know, colloquially known, it took your house and your quilts, and you've come such a long way since then. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, it was, it's kind of surreal. It's kind of surreal. Well, I was teaching in Houston, and my husband was going to join me for the quilt festival there, and he wasn't coming, and I found out there was a fire going on in the town of Paradise, California. Paradise, California is up in kind of the woods above Chico, California. It's in Northern California, and we had just bought a home there, a beautiful custom home with a view on a little hill, and we were thinking that would be our retirement home. It had a studio and all this stuff. Well, what happened is Joe is getting ready to go to the airport, and he gets a call on his cell phone that from our son who lives here in Bakersfield, saying, Dad, I just got a notice that the town of Paradise is on fire. Old town. How many people were in the town, Joey?
About 30,000.
30,000 people live there.
Oh my God.
And it's mandatory evacuation. And Joe goes, well, I don't see any smoke. And then he turned around and there was all this smoke. 2 weeks before this fire, we were watching a documentary on another fire that happened in California. And I said, just out of a whim to my husband, honey, if there was a fire and I'm out of town, would you know what to get? And he's like, oh, stop worrying. And I go, no, honey, would you know what to get? And he says, no, tell me. So I went through and I told him that, you know, you need to get this, you need to get this, you need to get this. And guess what? He remembered. So when the fire is happening, he remembered. I told him my award-winning quilts are in that closet downstairs, and they're all on pool noodles. If you could grab those and throw them in the back of your truck, I would love that. Baby, I know you need your medication. Make sure you get all your medication because you're diabetic, and don't forget some juice. And then you might want to get the hard drives on the computer so we have a life. And baby, look right down there. Those are all my photo albums. If you could grab those photo albums. He grabbed all that, plus he went back up in the studio, which is upstairs, and it's so dark at 10 o'clock in the morning that he had to use the flashlight on his phone to walk through, and he just started grabbing things off the wall. That's why I have this one and this one, because he grabbed them off the wall in the studio up there. And then he throws them in the truck, not knowing that the fire's really, really close. He says, you know, she'd really love it if I grabbed her a sewing machine.
Oh my God.
He started to go back in the house, and then the fire was coming up the driveway. So he thought, I better leave.
Wow.
Jumped in his truck, and he started to drive out the way we normally go.
Yeah.
And then he sees two young guys on their hot rod cars zooming past him, going like 60 miles an hour. He goes, they must know something, because they were going the opposite way. And so Joe goes, I better follow them. There's a secret little back way out, and Joe followed them out to safety. If he had turned the other way, that's the street where they found the first 5 people dead, burnt in their car.
Oh my gosh.
So he's
no idea.
I know, it was just a miracle. It is a miracle. And so he's putting down to safety, and he looks at the car in front of him, and on the license plate it says, you will be okay. It'll be okay. So he grabs his phone as he's driving. He gets his cell phone. I'm just going to take a picture of it to send to me, because he knows that'll calm me down. And he took a picture of his chin. The phone was going the wrong way.
You know, he had done plenty of work by that point. That's okay.
Absolutely. And you know, I used to always call him Slowpoke Joe, because you know, he's always, oh, he's so slow. I can never call him Slowpoke Joe.
No, you can't.
He's my hero. I did lose a lot of quilts, and a lot of projects I was working on, you know, big major quilts I was working on that are gone, and I may recreate them, but my husband saved a lot of stuff. But you know what? You can live without your stuff, but you can't live without family. So it puts it all in perspective, and you just kind of have to laugh and move on. So being here sequestered in this time, my child lives just a couple blocks away. They come over all the time, and it has been just wonderful. That's the best thing that you have, is your family.
That's absolutely right. And that's a beautiful story and a beautiful, you know, rebirth, right? Because
Yes.
you so have so many blessings now to count from. And you're so positive about the whole thing. Like, you just smile and laugh. I can't even imagine it.
It's just, you know, you couldn't even write this better. This is the truth. So you just move on, and you buy new stuff. I'm going to call my assistant in here.
Wonderful.
So this is the quilt I'm showing on the wall, the yellow nasturtium quilt. This one I made when we moved, moved into the house. Here, you hold this, and I'll come over here. Okay. So, and I just finished it so I could get it in the Houston show, and it'll be in the next AQS show. I finally have a quilt I can enter into shows, so I'm very excited. But I wanted to show you, because nobody's seen this, and when you get to shows, you don't really get to see what the back looks like. So let me take this out and show you what the back looks like, because I thought these were such beautiful colors.
Oh my goodness, the thread painting just shows through. It's incredible.
I know. When I got it out, I was like, oh my gosh, look at, that's a beautiful watercolor painting back there of threads. I mean, we have some little cleanup work to do, but that's what's going on the back of my quilts. But I call this Fire on My Mind, because after the fire, I needed to be creative and make something, but I had no fabric. And I started getting my Hoffmann fabric, so I used all the Hoffmann fabric on this. And this was kind of a therapy piece. I couldn't really make a quilt showing a burnt out house.
Sure.
It's too sad. But I thought, oh, I'm gonna make flowers that are kind of fire colors. And flowers kind of give you a hope for tomorrow. They're blooming, they're growing. So something positive to make it through. So I started this when we moved in, lived here a year. So it only took me a year.
Well, it's incredible. And I mean, what a special reminder of what you went through. But like you said, the flowers are hopeful. And,
you know, we make quilts when we're going through stuff. And you can kind of document everything in my life by the quilts that I made. This is another quilt. I lost this quilt in the fire. And this was a pattern that I made a long time ago from an original quilt that I made. And it was a little complicated to teach in a class. And I love to teach, you know, at all the AQS shows. So I've turned this into a doable 6-hour class. I mean, you're not going to get it done, but it's going to the printer. It's going to the printer, and I'm looking forward to teaching that class in the future. So
great. I'm looking forward to offering it. It's a beautiful quilt. What kind of flower is that? I'm bad with flowers.
that's a poppy.
Okay, I thought that was a poppy, but I wasn't 100% sure.
That's a poppy. And we can make them in different colors. They don't have to be red because poppies come in a lot of different colors.
Well, you, when you've been talking about the Hoffmann fabric, are you designing that fabric, or is it a fabric that
No, they just have beautiful batiks that have the hand-dyed look that I've been, when I started hand dyeing fabric, and I do hand dye for my own quilts, but I couldn't keep up with the demand of people wanting those hand dyes. So when I went back and looked at all the Hoffmann, wow, they make the same colors that I would make. Yeah. So I just start making up kits, and I have kits for almost all my patterns now. Oh, and I just opened an Etsy shop, like shipping and packing.
Yeah, tell us what your Etsy shop is called.
Melinda Bula Designs.
Okay, Melinda Bula Designs. So head on to that if you want to see what she's got up there. And I want to say that the fabric works perfectly, because it really does. It looks like a painting.
It's just beautiful. And I don't ever use solids in my patterns. Solids are too flat.
Sure.
So you want that solid, and you can use prints too. We can use a lot of prints. Like if you look up here on this guy, I'm redoing this pattern too. He's got batiks, but he's got all these multiple patterns and textures, and he just looks really rich.
Yeah, I recognize.
So those are the kind of fabrics that I like to use. So one of the things I've been playing around with, which has been so much fun, about a month ago, I started these classes on how to do the dogwood. The dogwood's kind of a multi-layered quilt, and so you kind of do need some instruction. Even though the pattern does explain it, I know how students process information. So what I did is I started putting a kit together, because picking color is sometimes hard for people, and most of the time it's hard for people. So if you feel frustrated picking color, you're not alone. So, and then I started filming myself putting together the dogwood quilt and working out all the little issues, and everybody sees me putting it together, picking a background, making the color chart, where the colors go, and it has been so fun. So I put them up on my blog, and they're for free. And I just wondered, you know, everybody's quarantined, we might as well make something. So why not make this? And I'm happy to say that AQS has these kits on their store.
I know. I was just about to say that we have the whole fabric and everything on shopaqs.com, and those dogwoods. Oh my goodness, they are so stunning. And here in Paducah, where I live, you know, Quilt City, we are so proud of our dogwoods, and we usually get to show them off at the show in April. And of course, we were devastated to have to postpone that this year, but everything is still blooming here. So
yeah, and the dogwoods, when they're blooming in Paducah, are breathtaking. I've taken that tour when I've been. That's what inspired me. I got to make a dogwood.
So, I have to tell you, I live right among where the dogwood is, and it's just being able to drive up and down my street is such a blessing. I love it here. So it's a beautiful way to celebrate the flower.
So here's for the class. So they're free. They're on my blog, which is melindabula.blogspot.com. Or YouTube. You can go to YouTube. But there's 3 classes up, taking you from the beginning of picking your fabric to getting it to this part. So when you and I leave today, Liz, I'm going to start quilting this. So the 4th class is going to be on how to do my renegade thread play technique on the dogwood. So I've got my camera set up, and I use my iPhone, and I have really good light in the studio, and then I become a filmmaker. Bad filmmaker, but I love making these, and I love the response I've gotten from people who had the pattern for years and have never done anything with it, and people are picking their own colors, and they're turning out really good. So if you want the kit, which makes it so much easier, and the pattern, you can go to AQS.
Yep.
Their shop, and they were nice enough to want to have some of those patterns, so I'm excited about that.
Well, I'm excited too, and I want to say you talked about the Renegade Thread Play, and they can go to your blog to get that from you. And we also have your iQuilt classes Where on
Right.
iquilt.com, we've got you have Renegade Thread Play and the Fabulous Fusible Flowers quilt, which is a great way if you're at home and you're looking for something to do, you want to learn Melinda's technique.
That is right.
With
And those
iQuilt,
classes are different than what I'm doing for free, because
yes.
the thread play is basically the Renegade Thread Play class takes the fear that you have out of sewing through. Now we're sewing through fusible web. So I have a bunch of it's a technique class, and I show you the different stitches I use, and it's a skill builder. So the more you sew, the better you get. There's just no two ways about it. The more you do thread play. So I have little exercises for you that can build up your skill level. And that's what it's all about. And then after you've done a pattern and you really want to work from your own photo, you go and take the fabulous flower quilts.
Yes.
Fabulous photo flower.
Yeah, fabulous fusible flower quilt.
Yes, and then I show you how I take a real photo and how I translate that photo into making a pattern. And so my whole goal is you work from a pattern, you get inspired, and then you think, oh, I think I could do this. And so that is a great class, that iQuilt class. Because usually I teach that in a 5-day workshop, and it costs you $1,500 to go. So this is like, $35.
A bargain.
And it's a really good deal. I mean, a really good deal. And you watch it over and over again.
So
So
that's a good thing. You can pause it and rewind and everything. And so can you tell us a little bit about your technique? Because these quilts look like they're painted, but I know that they aren't. A casual viewer would look at it and think it's just a painting. So can you tell us a little bit about how you put it together?
Well, people do always ask me if, there's nothing wrong with painting a quilt.
Absolutely.
But when I started doing this, and I have a painting background, but I also have a quilting background. And so I decided, could I paint a painting from this photo I have, and it was of roses, but not use any paint, just use all these beautiful fabrics I'm finding in the fabric store. So I'd take my photo to the local fabric stores, and I started picking out every color I thought I saw in my picture. And then I approach it just like I'm painting. I'm really not doing fusible applique. I'm really doing kind of a layering, because you layer paint on top of paint on top of paint. So I'm having to go find that value and that color, and I'm laying them on top. And how would we make that work? So that's kind of the challenge that I do. I have never put any paint or ink on any of my quilts. They are all either thread, but they're all, I've even cut, when I'm doing like raindrops, I even cut little tiny, I know I should be in a home. Okay. But I cut little tiny pieces and with my tweezers and putting them on. I get obsessed, but can I do it? Yes, you can. And so that's kind of my spiel. I love the challenge of trying to make these quilts with just fabric, because you know what? It is easy to paint, get your paint, but could you find that fabric and make it work? And this one is a little more abstract. The Fire on My Mind is a lot more abstract than I try to do a lot of realism, but they're impressionistic quilts, and it works. So I'm obsessed with it.
Well,
so,
we have
that explain it. Is that okay?
A little bit, but you know what? People can go and they can take your classes. They can look at the Fabulous Fusible Flower Quilts class and see more about how you get from a photograph to a beautiful, stunning quilt like that. We had the pleasure of having one of your exhibits up last year, and just getting to walk through those quilts, and I mean, it's, until you see them in person, you can't quite understand how.
Yeah, it is. There are lots of little pieces of fabric. It's kind of like a collage. And then when you put the thread in it, it kind of blends all the colors together, and it kind of is like a tapestry.
Yeah.
Theory of the thread is weaving all those colors together, and I blend the colors together I use just as many. In fact, on this, I counted that I had like 35 different colors of thread that I used on that. It's a lot of bobbins, it's
it's a lot of thread.
And I was sitting there when I was quilting this going, what, am I crazy? What? This is exhausting.
Why am I doing this?
Why am I doing it? It's so much easier. Give me a needle and thread and we'll do needle turn applique. Which I wanted to show you some of the things I've been doing that don't have anything to do with my technique.
Oh,
I
I'd love to
thought,
see that.
I thought folks would get a kick out of it because I started my first quilt when I was 18 years old. So and I worked in a fabric store and I was making quilts since I was 18, traditional quilts by hand. So when I lost my house, I knew right away I needed a project. I'll go crazy because this is how quilters are. We'll go crazy if we don't have a project. So the first thing I got a cross stitch pattern.
Yeah.
To do, like I have to have something in my hands all the time. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to make a piece quilt all by hand because I had no sewing machines. So I bought this kit from Edita Centaur. Am I saying that right?
Edita Sitar. Yep.
Edita Sitar. She
Got
has
it.
beautiful, I love her quilts. Okay. This is a shout out, Edita. And I made her Alaska quilt because
my goodness.
and I took out one of these blocks. I had to take it apart 5 times because I guess I forgot how to piece. And so, but when you lose your house, you lose all those cuddle quilts that you throw over the sofa.
I can't even imagine.
Can you? I know I always took it for granted. So I thought, well, I got to have something because Matthew comes over and we want to lay on the sofa and I'll watch TV and like, I have no blankets. I have no quilts. So this is going to go, and it goes in my living room perfectly. So
Well,
I
it's beautiful. You would never know that it's been a while since you pieced.
It has. And when they say a scant quarter inch, they mean a scant quarter inch. I had to go watch Alex Anderson videos to figure that out again. But I did it.
But you did it.
Now, here's another one that I did. Now, this is for my granddaughter. This, and I'm obsessed with this designer. This is a Lori Holt design. Do you know Lori Holt?
Yeah, I know of her. I've never met her, but I would love to.
She has these cute little farmhouse quilts, and I thought, I'm going to make this for my granddaughter, whose birthday was it was her first B day.
Oh,
This is her birthday. So I did this piece quilt, and wow, how satisfying. In fact, I think doing piece quilts makes you better. Hopping from the art quilt to the piece quilt is very satisfying. So I have some quilting to do on this. So the longer we are sequestered, hopefully the more things I can get done.
I love that. And you know, people out there who are working on a specific technique or a specific quilt, even wonderful award-winning renowned quilters like Melinda, switch it up, you know, and might have to go and watch some YouTube videos. So everybody, you know, you're not alone.
It's really satisfying to do somebody else's pattern because I didn't have to think of all those things.
Yeah.
You know, the joy of buying a kit, you know, it's so fun to just sit and piece or sit and cut pattern pieces out I didn't have to think it out or worry about it or did I write that the right way. So very satisfying. Pretty soon I'm not going to have time, you know, to make more of those, but it is enjoyable to try new techniques.
Absolutely.
You know, you can always learn.
Well, and I hope everybody at home is trying new techniques. And that's one reason we're doing these videos is so that, you know, while you're at home or even once things start to return to normal a little bit, you know, we want you to be inspired and excited to make new things. And that's why it's such a pleasure to talk with you and everybody else and to get to see these quilts up close and see your workspace and what inspires you. And I want to ask you a question. When did you start making flower quilts, and what is it about flowers that made you want to put those into art?
I made flower quilts back in, Joe's giving me a hint, about 2004.
Okay.
I really started getting back into quilting about 2000. And I started teaching, or I started making these flower quilts, and I was in a quilt guild. And I didn't show my quilt guild that I was fusing because back in the 2000s, it was still kind of that may not be allowed, Melinda.
The F word. I've heard you call it.
It was the F word. She's doing what? I mean, we were still trying to get used to quilting on a sewing machine.
Yeah.
You know, this is just in 2000. You know, boy, things have changed rapidly. And so I started making these flower quilts. I would start out with a picture the first 2 quilts were pictures from the Jackson Perkins flower catalog.
Okay.
And I looked at it and the picture was like this big. And I thought, okay, right away I can see I don't have enough fabrics in my stash. And so I had to go shopping with that little picture. And then I just started playing and I realized I'm approaching it like I would paint a painting. So I started layering the colors on top of each other. And back in the day, I was on a quilting budget. So I would buy a bunch of fat quarters. And I didn't have a big stash. I would purposely buy for that picture.
Sure.
And so after I made about 5 of them, somebody saw me at a quilt shop and said, "What are you hiding over there?" I was getting thread for some clematis, I think it was the purple clematis. And she goes, "Let me see that." And so I showed her what I was doing. She goes, "Oh my gosh, you got to show people this." And so that's how it happened. And next thing you know, I was teaching 2005, and here I am today.
Well, they're so wonderful to look at, and they're all so different from one another. And I have to say, talking to you and talking to a lot of our different other quilt stars, a lot of people say when they first started, it took someone either in a guild or in a quilt shop to say,
Absolutely.
"Hey, show that. Hey, teach that for me." So, if you're not part of a guild or if you're not
Oh,
interacting with your local quilt shop, please do, because it'll make a huge difference in your quilting life.
it does. It educates you.
Yes.
And when I joined the guild, first of all, I found there are people like me that like to make things. And every month they would have some famous quilter come in. I mean, we had Katie Pasquini. That's when I saw, oh, you let artists in. Thank you.
Artists are allowed.
Thank you. And then the next month we'd have Tahitian quilting, like, Hawaiian quilting. And then we'd have this star and that star doing all these different techniques. And I would sign up for all the classes. And I just absorbed even things I didn't like, even things I thought I wouldn't like, because it built my skills. And so my quilt guild really educated me. There were talented people, there were beginners, and we and I'm going to give them a shout out, Folsom Quilt and Fiber Guild in Folsom, California. And they were the ones that educated me. That guild educated me that there was a job, that you could do this. And there were all these other people doing these amazing techniques. I am a big fan of quilt guilds. And when you stop educating those people in your quilt guild, I'm going to come talk to you. Because to me, that's why they're there. It's not a group social. It's there to educate the body of the quilt guild. And sometimes you have people like me that really get inspired. So I'm very grateful. I love the quilt guild.
Yeah, and it's such an important body of different artists. So, and every single person has said that it took that inspiration from that guild to get them going. So
yeah, and they push you.
Yeah.
I had one quilt that in our local, I have one quilt that I did, it was all hand appliqued. And my girlfriend at the time said, "You need to enter that in this show." And it was an AQS show. I said, "I can't," because at our local quilt show, one of the ladies told me that I had all these problems with the quilt. And I'm like, well, I can never show any. But my friend Peggy, who was going to judging school, said, "No, why don't you enter it in that AQS show? I guess you were in Nashville."
Yeah.
Back then.
Right.
Okay. And I said, "Oh, I can't. It'll be too embarrassing. What if they don't pick my quilt?" She looked at me and said, "Mindy, they don't know who you are." I go, "Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put it in." And I got an honorable mention with all the wrong things with the quilt.
Yes.
And then next thing I know, I got a call from you guys, and you wanted to put it in your calendar. Your beautiful calendar that you can't live without.
The Quilters calendar. I have it up right by my desk.
Yes, you put it in that. And that's a quilt that had on the back of the quilt, I had quilted in a 6-inch fold in the backing fabric. And I still won an award.
That's the thing. We get people all the time who say, "Oh, these quilts are incredible, but I could never enter a quilt."
Oh.
And you can't be thinking like that. You have to enter your quilts, because you'll be surprised by how far you can get. And
it encourages your creativity. Then after that, I said, "Oh, well, I've got to improve on those techniques." techniques, but now I'm going to do this. And so each time it kind of gives you a little push out of your safety zone to try and put in. I highly encourage, like Peggy said, that nobody knows who you are. I didn't tell anybody. And next thing you know, what somebody thought over here wasn't what these people thought over there.
Right, right.
So just know it's a little subjective, and you go in. If you have friends that say, you know, that's really pretty, you should enter that. Go ahead and try it. And AQSs are a wonderful show because they have fabulous judges like moi.
Yeah, you've judged for us before, and it's
except for the last time I judged, I was going to kill David Taylor. Just gonna tell you, I think he was going to kill me too. But we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun doing that in, where were we? South Carolina?
Yeah, we were in Charleston.
Yeah. Charleston,
South Carolina. Yes, you're right. And so
that was a great show. I love that.
I have to say, now I have to touch on two things that you said. The first thing is that people should go to quiltweek.com/contest to enter your quilts in the shows.
Yes.
And the other thing is that I have never had more fun than when I am in a room with you and David Taylor together, because for those
we
of
feed
you
off each other.
Yeah, exactly. And you have two wildly different techniques, and you bicker like school children.
It's like brother and sister from another mother.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, you know, no matter what your technique is, everybody does their own thing and can make incredible quilts. And the two of you are a prime example of that. And I'm excited to say we'll be interviewing David very soon as well.
Oh, so good. I admire him. But, you know, he does call me a scrapbooker. So. Which
sure does.
I am. But it's all in love. So don't take him seriously or me seriously. We love it and adore each other. We're just playing. And, you know, it's just fabric. We can get more.
Absolutely.
Trust me, I lost my whole stash and I am having a blast building it back up again.
Well, I can tell, and I want to ask you a question because I know people will be curious. You showed us all the thread painting in that new quilt. Do you have a specific kind of thread that you prefer to use?
Yes, I do. And I fell in love with, I use sulky rayon thread. And you're taking a delicate rayon thread. And I like it because it's shiny, okay? Because I like shiny things. And so I'm taking this delicate rayon thread and I'm piercing it with this needle through thick fusible web. But the little bit of shine that the thread gives is so much prettier than using a matte cotton thread. I've tried all kinds of thread and I like the rayon thread. Now I'm putting thread on top of thread, so I'm not using a polyester thread because that doesn't let the needle, can't pierce that thread.
Sure.
Polyester thread is for a different kind of quilting, you know, the long arm quilting with the beautiful feathers and all that. I'm doing down and dirty, and I like the rayon thread.
That little bit of shine adds another fun dimension to your quilt. So it definitely works in a positive way.
Yeah, but you can use, when you're doing this type of technique, you can use any kind of thread you want. Use your favorite. You know, there's no rules. We got rid of the quilting police a long time ago.
A long time ago. No rules quilting. I love that.
Well, some people keep wanting to bring it back, but I keep shooting her down.
Melinda says no. There are no rules.
In my class, you can do whatever you want within reason.
So what would you say to everybody out there who are looking for inspiration or not sure what to work on next? Do you have any advice for the quilters out there wondering kind of how to get inspired?
Yes, and the first thing to get inspired and pull out your creativity, you need to do something for you. Not a quilt because you have to, or not a quilt because I've got a deadline.
Sure.
Okay, those are important quilts to make. But to be inspired and let your creativity thrive, you need to be working on something for you. And it's okay to make something for you because most quilters give everything away.
Yeah.
It's okay to just sit down and go, you know, I need to make a quilt in fire colors. I have an issue. I have something inside of me that needs to come out. You know, sometimes I need to work in purple.
Yes.
But with this, I was obsessed. I need to do these hot, fiery colors because this is what we've gone through. And that's when your creativity just starts to flow. and you know, you get inspiration because you're just letting it go. And when I did this quilt here, I tried, you know, I tried something I'm always telling people to do. Go with your first feelings. Like, should I move that fabric? If you're saying that, you probably need to move that fabric. Should I change that color? And I can sit here for 2 days going, should I change the color? You know, believe in what you're feeling and seeing. Trust yourself. Okay, you have it. That's what artists are doing. We're way too feely. You know, this is why a lot of us are on medication also, but that's a whole nother story.
There's no shame in that.
Yeah, but really you need to trust when you're building something and being creative, trust your intuition. That's what will, you know, and 9 times out of 10, that intuition was right. And I did that on this quilt. I really practiced it. I want to put something whimsical in there, like this little squiggle. Could I quilt that? How would that work? And so I started cutting out these little tiny squiggles and throwing them on there like little abstract shapes. And I'm so glad I did. It changed the whole way this quilt looks. More whimsical, more little jagged little fire sparks that I figured out later. That is kind of like little sparks of fire. When you look back at all the fire pictures, you'll see these little sparks flying. Well, at least up in paradise they were flying. But yeah.
Well, that's great advice. So if you're, you know, kind of stuck, if you feel like you're in a rut, make something for yourself. Trust your intuition and just go with it.
Yes, absolutely. And it can be anything you want. I don't know why we feel selfish making something for ourselves, or somebody comes into the room, usually a well-meaning husband. Well, what are you making that for? It's like, oh my gosh, just ignore them. Just make it, and you know, try new things and see what happens.
I was gonna say, you've heard it from Linda. Ignore your husbands and make something that you love.
Within reason. Now, I can only say that so much because my husband did save a lot of my quilts.
Yes, he did.
So he's kind of my hero.
Well, let me say, it's been such a delight to talk with you and see your studio and your beautiful home. You are so deserving of this wonderful space, and I hope that you are able to find new peace and new creativity in this wonderful new place. And I have one more question for you before I let you go, which I've been asking a lot of folks, and you've already kind of answered it. But, you know, in this time when we are kind of stuck at home and we're trying new things, other than quilting, is there something, is there a hobby that you've been doing, anything new that you've been trying?
Yes, I have been obsessed with cross stitch. I did it when I was younger, in my 20s. And now, in fact, over here, Joey, if you want to show, I took one of my patterns and I translated it. This is the zinnia, and I'm working on turning it into a cross stitch. Yes, I'm obsessed with cross stitch.
That's gorgeous. My husband loves cross stitch too.
There's a lot of guys into cross stitch.
And it's a really good thing to get into, a really good fiber art that is not that intimidating, because all you need is the cross stitch fabric, the thread, and a hoop, and you can just sit there watching TV
and watch TV and just concentrate. And I just am enjoying it. I'm doing a lot of really easier things too than that.
That doesn't look that easy.
Yeah, and I was thinking, when I make this into a pattern, I am going to edit some of these colors. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, I was going to say, you've got to make that into a pattern so we can make it at home.
Yes, I'm gonna do that.
Well,
if I ever get it done.
Yeah, you will. I have faith in you.
Yes.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to talk with you. I want to tell people, don't forget to visit shopaqs.com, iquilt.com, Melinda Bula Designs at Etsy. Yes, you can get the dogwood.
Yeah.
And what's your blog?
melindabula.blogspot.com.
Perfect.
And it has supply. I mean, if you bought the pattern and you want to read about some of the supplies you'll need and some of the other stuff, but you can also watch the videos there. There's the first 3 videos will get you ready for the 4th video, which will be, I'm going to post it next week.
So you have a little bit of time to catch up, watch those videos, and then you can get the new one. And
then you go and take the iQuilt class.
Absolutely.
Photo, your own with your own photo, and make your quilt.
Well, and in no time you'll be a pro.
And I hope I get to see you in September in Paducah.
I am so excited. I cannot wait. I am just so ready to see everybody here in Paducah.
Me too.
And I know it will be beautiful here. And
will.
if you are out there and you're watching this video, I want to make sure if you like it, press the like button, share with your friends so that they can also get inspired with these quilts and with these wonderful artists. And like the American Quilter Society Facebook page so that you're the first to see these new videos that come out. I want to thank you again, Melinda. It's been such a joy. And
my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Oh, and I can't wait to see you in September.
Okay.
And everybody out there, we are coming from you from Quilt City, USA. Keep quilting and quilt on.